Hi there and welcome back to Japan. Some appropriate timing there. So, today I'm going to be giving you a reaction review to Animal Rhythm by Sakura Gakuin. This is going to be quite an interesting one, but as always, I've just actually done the reaction, so if you want to see my reaction and listen to the song with me, then pause this video and open up another YouTube player by clicking the link in the description below, where you'll be able to watch the reaction along with me. Hear the song with me if you don't already know it, if you haven't already seen the video. It's definitely an interesting one. We've got a lot to unpack on this, so if you're ready, I will give you my review now. Have you seen the reaction? Do you need to see the reaction? Are you ready for the review? Here it comes. Okay, don't say I didn't warn you. So, this one, like I said, I went into this one because I was very aware that I'd started to, if you like, unravel. Previously, Sakura Gakuin had been a group who we'd listened to through the lens of, hey, we were listening to every single Baby Metal song, and it was like, oh, okay, well, let's check out Sakura Gakuin as well, and Karen Girls and all these various things. But just recently on the ones, since we've stopped listening to Baby Metal because we've heard every single song, well, unfortunately, all those reviews have been deleted when we had to restart the channel, but still, because we'd heard every single song by them, it was kind of interesting restarting that listening process with Sakura Gakuin, kind of as their own thing, not so much through that lens. And I really had started to kind of gain a little bit of enjoyment for the charm that goes into a lot of their songs, you know, seeing them in their own light. Because essentially speaking, this is something very much directed and aimed at kids. It's a sort of kids' music. By the way, just so you know, YouTube, this video is not directed at kids, okay? I don't want to get any of that stuff on my channel, okay? Don't you try doing that weird legal stuff with me. This is directed for adults who might have kids, or might just want to hear something relaxing and a bit chilled and a bit different. So, yeah, just so you know. The song's obviously directed very much at kids itself. And so when I listen to this kind of music, it's a very valid type of music. And like I say, it can just be kind of nice as something a little bit relaxing and different for someone who just doesn't want to listen to serious music all the time. And I kind of got a really big smile out of a few of the songs I've heard by these guys. And so I wanted to hear this. And with a name like Animal Rhythm, you kind of know it was going to go in a little bit of a bizarre direction. And I couldn't have been much more pleased if I tried with the tone of this. Now, musically, there's a lot of things to unpack on it as well. But tonally, I just kind of liked the fact that, you know, for a pop song, it was really, really kind of, you know, it was funky, but it was laid back. I mean, I pointed out it's a little bit of basic music theory. Usually when you go into a chorus, the notes of the chorus melody are higher than usually the melody notes of most of the rest of the song in a lot of cases, because that's kind of, you know, the higher bit, that's the bit where it's the climactic bit where you're singing the chorus, where it's the energy comes in. But that's not a strict rule. And this one, I like the fact the chorus started in a slightly lower note and built up. There was a real sense that nothing about the song was particularly pressuring, trying to grab your attention. It was just kind of fun. It was there. It's like, you know, if you were to give a song a personality, if you were to sort of personify a song, this would kind of just be like a relaxed friend sitting next to you, giving you chilled out information about wildlife. You know, it was, by the way, the road outside is really loud today. There's been extremely heavy rainfall, so if you're wondering what that is, I think it's the cars are basically like boats as they drive past the road outside my house. So that's, yeah, it's extremely loud, so sorry if you can hear all that noise in the background. If you can't, then that was just a really weird little segue I put in there, a really little break. Weird stuff. Anyway, so yeah, in regards to what I was talking about, tonally the song just is kind of nice and laid back, but at the same time it's funky, it's kind of fun, you know, it's like, you know, when you think of a chilled out song, you usually think of something, well, I guess the stereotype is you'd think of something like a ballad or something very quiet. But this has, you know, it has a good beat. I like the piano use, like I say, very reminiscent of a lot of that sort of disco-y pop stuff that you'd see from the like late 90s, maybe early 2000s. It was just a sort of nice rounded tone to the whole thing. Not too oppressive, but certainly if you were in the right mood to just sort of enjoy something relaxed, fun and poppy, then it really would grab you, I think. The chorus was not particularly catchy in that it's not stuck in my head right now, but while it was going round, it certainly felt like it did its job. You know, I mean, the chorus should be the bit where every time the song swings back round to it, it should feel like that's the bit where the song comes together, and it certainly did work that way. So as a general, like I say, nothing about this song is like sort of fireworks and wow. However, it works very well at what it is. It grabs that tone that it's going for and does it perfectly. And that, of course, leads us into what was happening more lyrically and what was happening with the girls. Like I say, with these songs, my Japanese is not quick enough or good enough to say that I can really know 100% what's going on in the song when I'm listening to it. However, I can pick up bits, and when they have these little conversational bits, there were some really sort of funny bits of conversation that was happening between the girls that I could actually pick up on and go, okay, so there was a banter element to the song. The song was a bit bantery, and yet it was also talking about animals and things. It was, it was kind of somewhere between childish banter in the best possible way, not saying it in a derogatory term at all, and a sort of a pseudo-educational tone to it, I think, from the bits I could pick up elsewhere. It was, it was just kind of charming. Again, full of charm. And the video really kind of worked out. I was kind of curious where they were going at first with the direction of it, but when they had the little animals walking off, that's nice, that's charming. That's the sort of thing you can imagine. If that was a kid's film, it would be a really nice little kid's film. It was... everything about that was very likable, very innocent. So the question we always come round to, especially with Sakura Gakuin, who I've kind of given an overall seal of approval in my own opinion for this anyway, is like, if I had kids and I wanted them to listen to something just sort of, well, you don't so much tell kids what to listen to, but if you were hoping that they were listening to something innocent, just sort of nice and, for kids, would this be that? Or is it too childish? Or is it too oversimplified? Is it a baby shark moment? I'd say no, this is exactly the sort of thing that I think if you've got like young kids, this is exactly the sort of thing that would be really lovely to think of them listening to, because it's got personality. And this is a big thing actually, which I think is good for music to have when kids hear music. Sort of younger kids are really kind of getting edge for music first of all. I think it's really important to give them music that has personality, because the idea that music is fun is much more important than the idea of music being cool. I've never been a big fan of the idea of young kids. And again, I'm getting a bit of philosophy in this, but my own personal philosophy on music. But I do think this is kind of an important conversation to follow up from this. And maybe when I invite you to give your comments at the end of this, maybe you want to comment on this as well. I think there is something a bit disturbing about the celebrity culture, and this has been going around for a while, that is pushed at kids. Kids get into bands who have a real celebrity from a young age, and that I think is kind of, apart from whatever you think of like the social side of that, I think one of the biggest negatives is it gives the impression that music is more about being cool than it is about enjoyment. And maybe this is a very twee thing to say, but I think that music should be something that you do because you just want to enjoy it, have fun, maybe express something if you want to, rather than because you want people to look at you and think you're cool, because that sort of impression is what pushes some people to think, well, I consider myself to be, I want to be tough, so I'm going to do rock for that reason, or I'm going to do hip hop for that reason, or I consider myself to be more delicate and emotional, so I'm going to do something very avant-garde and hippie, not so much because I like it, but because I want people to look at me that way. See me as being deep and meaningful. I think that's one of the big problems with the way that music is not so much taught but presented to children. So when I see something like this, and don't worry, it's not that it can only be enjoyed by kids. I mean, I enjoyed this as well. Certainly, if I'd had a real tough day and I just wanted to listen to something totally innocent just to sort of reset my palate, I would probably put this one on. It's something that you can come back to and just go, that's nice. That just sort of puts you back to zero in a lot of ways. But from a kid's perspective, what's nice about it is there's no sort of sense of pretentiousness. There's no celebrity about it. It is just clearly designed with only the intention of something that kids would enjoy, rather than look at us with Sakura Gakuin. So not that I can imagine them coming across like that. But I think this is one of the byproducts of the more innocent Japanese pop. Not to say it's exclusively a Japanese thing, but it's probably more archetypal to Japanese pop music than any other. This idea of this sort of really cutesy, innocent pop is it does actually have that quality. For as much as it gets a bit of a sort of derogatory stick from some people, it has that quality of removing a sort of pretentious or celebrity element from it and just kind of being only designed for the person who's enjoying it, and which, especially if it's a kid's, great, because they're looking more at, oh wow, look, music can express these fun things, music can have this fun sort of message, music can be about anything as silly as just, well, call it silly if you want, but something as relatively light as just, hey, here's some animals, here's some fun things about animals, and that is, in my opinion, very important, and I think that's one of the reasons why I consider Sakura Gakuin, certainly with this kind of material. And like they did that other one which was about travel, which was a similar thing. It was kind of like just some silly travel like information almost, sort of pseudo-educational stuff going into a song. But it was fun, and you can imagine that sparking an interest both in music and in the subject of travel. And this, I can imagine sparking interest both in music and in, wildlife, or just, generally animal-related things, nature. I think that is great. That's how music can inspire kids. That's how it can get through to kids. And that's how it can actually have a value rather than Baby Shark, which has no value whatsoever, is only catchy in that irritating can be catchy. And I refuse to believe it's got an educational quality, because what it manages to teach you is without context. And I was actually talking to... shouldn't name names, but basically a kid who's a very sort of someone who's close to me's kids. And we were talking about the Baby Shark song, and she actually said to me, she was like, I didn't get that song. I don't get it. I don't like it. And she said, isn't it true that sharks don't hang around in families anyway? And I thought, I don't know that, but it sounds like it's quite possibly true. And that would make Baby Shark even more irrelevant. So, we got way off of topic now. But my point is anyway, I'm just trying to give a context and landscape for why this sort of thing, beyond being a simple, good piece of music that's enjoyable, light, relaxing, easy to get into, and certainly has enough quality to be worth its own existence, it also has the quality of being something that I think has a real value. I do think this kind of thing has a value. I think it has a place in music beyond just what might appear to be a twee thing. So I really liked that. I thought it was great. It did its job brilliantly. Like I said, I wouldn't exactly come back to it as being like a musical milestone, but certainly for its effect of being relaxing, silly, and just light-hearted, I can imagine myself probably coming back to this. You have a stressful day, and like I said before, you just need something which is just innocent and relaxing, just to take the edge off your day. I think that's the sort of thing I probably would come back to, just to give myself a giggle and go, what on earth is going on? Good little stuff. Great stuff. Good little song. As always, get in the comments, tell me what you think, whether you know the group or not, whether you liked it or didn't. And also some opinions. We don't talk much about this, but it is an interesting one. What you think about, the state of how music is shown to children. Do you think that it's good that music is presented to kids often with a side dish of celebrity? What do you think about, is this sort of an archetype for what you think music should be like for younger kids? Obviously, I'm not putting an age bracket on this because I don't know enough about raising kids to know exactly what the age bracket is for when kids should start, getting into more celebrity-driven music. Like I say, interesting subject. So whether you want to talk about the song or that, I'm really looking forward to seeing some comments on this one. It's a bit of an interesting topic and certainly a really fun song. And as always, you can also follow, if you want to get more involved in discussion, there's a load of discussion happening all the time on our other links in the description below, our social medias for things like Discord, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, they're all there as well as our Patreon. Massive thank you, guys. If you're on the Patreon, you are the reason why I can do things like buying this little fan. Cheap as it was, this was with Patreon money, that goes underneath my computer and keeps it from overheating, which surprisingly allows me to keep on working for longer and get these videos actually done and out. I'm not using it right now because of the fact that I've got the air conditioning on something ridiculous. I probably should turn it back up soon, because otherwise I'm going to freeze, and therefore save a bit of money on my electricity and use it. You see, there's a logic, there's an economical logic to this. Thank you, guys. You've saved me money and stress. Anyway, thanks for all of that. A massive thank you for getting through to the end of this particularly waffly video, I think. And until I see you hopefully soon in Japan for the next video, for now, ciao, ciao.